I would like to introduce our special guest today, Debra Bonner. She's renowned in the area and well-loved and does magnificent work, and we're going to learn a lot more about that today. She is a transformational vocal coach. Her technique has been effective in eliminating vocal nodules and correcting nearly every vocal problem. She's had amazing experiences with students and her vocal technique. One, to mention, a few years ago, several years ago probably, a 17-year-old boy who had come from a disadvantaged background, traumatic living situation, and he had severe vocal problems. For one thing, he couldn't match pitch. She worked with him with her technique. He was finally able to overcome his vocal and emotional deficiencies to become one of the most effective vocal technique instructors in the world. And there are many more interesting stories, and please refer to your bio in your program and read about them. Debra is that missionary who wants to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony so that all might have joy. Let's welcome her with a big...
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you would, just move over. And I'm going to ask another favor of you. If you would be okay with me taking off my shoes. I don't like shoes. Can you help? Where's Harry, my husband? Come on, can you help me? I mean, they're comfortable, but I just don't like shoes. In fact, when I sang as a guest soloist for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir in '96, I took off my shoes and I kicked them under the piano. And we just sang at the Tabernacle, our gospel choir, a couple of weeks ago. Was it just last week or a couple of weeks ago? I didn't wear shoes. But I have to be who I am, right? That is what this is all about. Your true voice. Being who you are. Finding your voice. And I guess I found mine because I take off my shoes. I remember even in the grocery store when I have 8 children, and I would take them in the grocery store and put some in the cart, some holding on to both sides of my clothes and holding on to the cart, and we were going down the aisle getting what we want, and I had to take off my shoes. I would take off my shoes. And so when I go to the grocery store, I take off my shoes. And my husband was with me, and he said, "Debra, put your shoes on." I said, "No." And so I just love being barefoot. And then had the opportunity, my husband and I, right after we were married, 3 months after we were married, we were Baptists, and that was 40 years ago. We served a mission in West Africa. And they didn't wear shoes. In the villages, they didn't wear shoes. I felt so at home. In fact, I came to be really comfortable in my skin, serving that mission in West Africa, in the village, living in the mud houses and taking baths in the creek with the people, and, you know, sleeping on those thatch roof beds, you know, inside the huts. And I just felt, I mean, life was like easy. It was so comfortable. And there were hundreds and thousands of people who are so much like me, who act like me, who are very, very spiritual people, and could do miraculous things spiritually, and I was like, I'm okay. So when I came back to America, I was okay. It changed me even more than what I was initially to be who I am and feel comfortable being who I am. Now, if you get to know me, you'll like me. But if you don't know me and you see me out there, I may seem a little strange to you. But finding your true voice. I was able to, at the age of 13, train vocally. Before that, I was considered a bad little girl. I really wasn't a bad little girl. And when I look at it in retrospect, I was always in fights. Every day I was fighting. But I was fighting because I was taking up for kids who were being bullied. And so I had to fight every day, almost every day. And it became a sport. And kids would follow me home because they knew I was going to get in a fight. I was going to be in a fight. And I would wear shorts under my dress because girls wore dresses back then. And really, it wasn't really a fight. It was like a wrestling match. And the person who pinned them down, whoever said I give is the winner, really. You know, that's how it was. But I was considered I was a special ed child. I was considered mildly retarded in elementary school. At the age of 13, I couldn't read. I couldn't retain. And then there was this little girl from Mississippi, because I lived up north in Michigan. She moved into our town, and she had about 100 pigtails like this, but 100 of them with different color bows all over. And the kids would tease her. So, of course, what did I have to do? Had to fight. And she was taller than me and most of the kids. I said, just grab him and sit on him. Well, you know? And she said, no, my friend wouldn't like it. And I admired her so much because she was tall, big, and strong, yet she wouldn't fight. And I thought, I want to be like her, to have that inner strength not to fight. And so she said her friend wouldn't like it, so I wanted to know who her friend was. She said, I'll take you to his house. I said, okay. So she took me to his house one Sunday. And I came to know her best friend, and he became my best friend. And his name was Jesus. Changed my life completely. And she had this beautiful voice, and I said, oh, Lord, if you can just give me a voice, I won't fight ever again. And I was 12 at the time, and and she was in a gospel choir, and she was 13, and you had to be 13. So for a year, I would sit in the pew, and I learned how to read by singing the hymns. That's how I learned how to read. Began reading. And then Jesus being my best friend, I would talk to him daily, almost all the time. And then anytime I had a problem or a question, I talked to Jesus, and he talked to me. And he opened my mind. And so by the time I graduated from high school, I graduated with honors. And it was through gospel music that I came to know him. It was through music and the words of the song that penetrated through my spirit. And I came to know him and love him and wanted to be like him. And our church, the church, it was a Baptist church. I was like they took me in like an orphan kid, because, I mean, after all, I was this little bad kid, right? And my parents didn't go to church, so they were like a family church. And they took me in, and they loved me, and they nurtured me, and they paid for my voice lessons from the age of 13 until I graduated from high school at 18. So when I graduated from high school, right after graduation, I was a part of this regional 100-voice choir orchestra. Back then, no, mind you, we're talking about just coming out of the 60s, you know, with the race riots and all that. There were only 2 black kids in the 100-voice choir orchestra. It was me and my best friend. And I was the soloist for that choir, and we traveled throughout Europe. So my voice teacher, they tried to find the best in the state to train me. So I had great training. In fact, the Nats Association went to Indiana University of Indiana, in Bloomington, Indiana, and I was one of the top 2 voices out of 3 states. So that teacher, I'm saying that only to say that that teacher was an incredible voice teacher. But I used to sing gospel music, right? But by the time I graduated from high school, I couldn't sing gospel anymore. My voice was classical. And I couldn't, as hard as I tried, my gospel sounded classical, my pop sounded classical. And I said, I've been duped. So I had a great love for classical, but it wasn't my heart. My heart was in gospel music, because that's how I came to know the Savior. My heart was in pop music, because that's what I heard on the radio all the time. I said, oh, well. So I had vocal scholarships at Indiana, at University of Michigan, and many other top universities. Never had to pay a penny for my education because of vocal scholarships and academic scholarships. This is a girl who was a special ed child, who used to fight all the time. But my life was changed with the Lord Jesus Christ and music. Music is powerful. You know that. You know that, right? So, married my husband. We went to Africa as missionaries. And the Spirit spoke to me and said, resign from that mission. It was so hard because we loved the people. We loved being there. But we had to do it because that's what the Spirit said. So we resigned, came back to the States. Shortly later, the Spirit said, go west. I didn't know anybody west. And there was 2 years between that time that I taught in the inner city of Cincinnati, Ohio. And I was still that missionary. And I didn't know you weren't supposed to teach about Jesus. So I taught the kids about Jesus. It was high crime, high teenage pregnancy, high dropout. And in the 2 years, those kids shifted, totally shifted. And then they were no longer possible statistics, but they were college bound. And then the Spirit said, go west. I loved working with those kids in the inner city. And I was baptizing kids in my tub. I didn't know you couldn't do that. And the parents didn't care, so it was good. So we went west. And my husband, he was the recreation supervisor, and all the money I made went back into productions and kids writing musicals and changing their lives and going to, what was that big amusement park? We'd have like 90 kids we take to the amusement park. What was it? Kings Island. Kids who have lived there all their lives and their parents who have never gone to Kings Island went to Kings Island and did things, you know. So when the Spirit said go west, we had about $100. We didn't have much money because I was giving away everything. We were giving away everything. Just being that missionary, right? At least the Baptist missionary. Baptist missionaries are a little bit different probably than LDS missionaries, quite a bit different. You know, you just listen to the Spirit, you get up and you pray and you say, okay, Lord, what do I do next? And you just, in the moment, do, you know, and you know that the Lord is there and you're protected. Now, gosh, your true voice. Am I going to get to it? I am, I promise. It's all about finding your voice. And that's finding your voice. When you're aligned spiritually with Him, you found your voice. That's what I found. But anyway, we'll come back to it. Went west. How did we go west? Well, we had a car, drove to Flint, Michigan, which is where my family was. They didn't have a car. We gave them our car because we used to give everything away, right? And we basically hitchhiked west. I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and I was 7 months pregnant. Didn't know anybody west. Went west. When we got into Vegas, that's where we ended. And the guy said, well, I'm going on to California, so we're going to stop and get something to eat. We went into downtown Vegas like 10 o'clock at night, but it looked like daylight. It was scary. I was like, oh, that's right, this is Sin City. Oh, wow. And I said, are we west? And the guy said, yeah. And I said, well, drop us off here. And that's what we did. We dropped off with $100 to our name, 2 babies and 7 months pregnant. Within a week, because Harry was knocking on doors, and me and the babies would walk behind him, you know, as he'd knock on doors and see if he can get a job, and it wasn't happening. Well, I'll just make a long story short. Harry happened to see 2 guys on bicycles and he said, do you know, are you guys Catholic? Because I used to be Catholic. Is there a self-help program or something? He said, our bishop, I'll give you our bishop's number. And he did, and that bishop met with us and took us in his home. And he said, me and my wife have been looking for someone to help because our prophet told us that we need to find somebody to help. That was the time that statement was said. I have allergies, no COVID. And so, long story short, it was a miracle because we were Baptist missionaries. We knew the gospel and we knew Jesus. So what else did we need? We didn't need anything else. So it had to come from the Spirit. The Spirit said, be baptized in this church at this time. So we were. I didn't want to because I just come from Africa. I just come from inner city, helping young little black kids, and now we're the only black people around. and they don't have gospel music. It was difficult. But the Spirit said, do it. And so began our sojourn. 8 children. I know. I'm going to say it in the gospel, the fullness of the gospel. It changed our lives. We already knew Jesus, but we had more access through the priesthood and all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, that's who I am. I'm sorry. I just had to tell you a little bit of my story, right? Has it been easy? It hasn't been easy because I'm not normal in this area. I'm not normal. My kids grew up normal in this area with wonderful leaders and youth leaders and activities, and we learned a lot. Me and Harry learned a lot, but we always knew Jesus. So now we got to know our Father in heaven. That, well, I'm sorry, guys, for those who are not. I'm just telling you my story, okay? This is my story, so I can say this, right? Because it's my story. And the power in prayer. There's one thing talking to Jesus, and it's wonderful, and I still talk to Jesus on a very regular basis. And he talks to me and gives me direction. But there's a difference in praying to my Father and Jesus being right there, pleading my case. And there have been difficult times because my culture is different, because I'm different, I act different, I look different, I talk different. It's been difficult. But the Lord gave me a greater capacity to love his children, and to know that we all are his children, and we're all sisters and brothers. Changed me totally. Your true voice. When I say your true voice, what does that mean to you? Can someone tell me, even in music, as a piano teacher or a voice teacher, can your or has your students found their voice? Anybody? Anybody want to respond? Yes. Come up, sweetie. Yeah, because I can't hear you. Oh, good. Hey, where's this?
I'm a student. I'm not a teacher right now, but I've always learned that it's not very healthy or helpful for you to try to sound like anybody else. You try to sound like what you need to sound like, and that is different than everybody else. And so if you try to sound like your teacher or you try to sound like somebody on the radio, it's not going to help you. You need to be your voice, and that's what makes it more powerful.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Beautiful. And that's what I found in the technique in the 50 years that I've been teaching voice. Now, when I sung classical, it was an element of my voice, but it wasn't truly my voice. It wasn't all my voice. If it was totally my voice, I'd be able to sing anything. I could go back and sing gospel, and I could sing pop, or classical, different styles, right? Yes, imitate. Now, my teacher did say, you're a spinto, like a leontine. So she gave me other spintos that I need to listen to so I can sound more like them. And so I trained my voice to sound more like other great artists. That's why when it was time for me to sing something else, I couldn't do it because my voice now was stuck. in singing a certain way. My muscles were trained to sing a certain way. So my husband, Harry, it was very difficult for me after we came back from Africa for me to find a voice teacher. They would say things like, really, you should be teaching me. And I'm like, I don't like that answer. I want to continue to train. So Harry sought after someone who was considered one of the best in the world, and that was Michael Jackson's voice teacher. And Michael Jackson's voice teacher taught all the stars, 80% of the people, 80% of the people for years who won the Grammys and the Tonys were his students. And Metropolitan Opera winners were his students. So that's who I studied with. And he became my mentor. And I have a wonderful husband. He would allow me to fly in twice a week from Vegas to LA, and I would stay all day under Seth's wing for 2 years, solid, never missed. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I was on that plane. I was there from 8 in the morning until 8, 9 at night. Sometimes I would miss my flight and I'd have to sleep in the airport. So I was saturated in his technique and knew what he taught. And it shifted my voice. And that really shifted it. I guess it did, because then I was able to sing gospel again. I was able to sing pop. And my classical was better than ever. Now that's a true technique, I would say. A technique where you can sing anything. And it's all about muscles. It's all about coordinating the muscles in the throat. It's like going to a physical therapist. If your arm or your leg's not working properly, they have techniques or to get them to move properly, to get and have exercises, right? Well, it's the same. Exercises that are cause and effect exercises that trains the voice. So anybody can learn to sing. Anybody. Now there are some people who are born singers, who their muscles are just coordinated and they just sound good. Never had a lesson. And then there are others whose muscles in the throat are not coordinated and they have breaks in their voice. It doesn't sound pretty. Not born singers, but with training those muscles with cause and effect exercises can get them to work properly and be aligned so that they can sing in their true voice at its best. That is what I learned from Seth Riggs. Now, he didn't say it like that. And I don't even know if he knows it like that. But because of 50 years of, well, it's been 35 years after him. I was teaching 15 years before I met him. In the method and seeing how voices evolve through these series of exercises. And then taking some classes with Ingo Tietze, learning how the voice works. Then I understood it is a science. Singing is a science. You can teach it. You can learn it. You just do these exercises and this will happen. You do these exercises, these things will happen. Is that simple? Bridge the breaks in the voice. Be able to negotiate between registers. Simple, because your muscles are coordinated enough to do it. And then you strengthen them where you have power. And when those muscles are fully coordinated, and you can just sing anything, opera, Broadway, hard rock. Yeah, and turn around and sing opera. Because your muscles are coordinated to do it. And I have found that in my experience in teaching people that they change too. The people change. They become more confident. They're more solid in who they are because they will have found their voice, their true voice. Okay. Questions. I know this is a different concept for many. Yes, ma'am.
So I love singing, and my family grows up singing, and then they turn into teenagers, and my boys won't sing because of those breaks.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Now, the boys especially, oh, come up, please. We need another mic. I need somebody to bring them. Can you? Yes. Yes. There's a mic on this side, the mic on that side. Just go to it and come up.
So my question is, I have a family that grows up singing. I sing to my kids, lullabies, all this stuff, and I've got 3 boys and a girl. And the boys, once they hit puberty, they stop singing because they don't like to break.
Puberty.
So just how did you help your family?
Okay. Well, because I understand how the voice works, right? You realize during puberty, their bones are growing, their joints, their muscles are growing, the cartilages are growing. That's what happens during puberty. And there's nothing you can do about it. And then their voice starts flipping and their range get limited because these muscles are changing constantly. They're still growing. And even the exercises that I have, the cause and effect exercises, are not going to really help them much. But we do them anyway, but we do it within the limit of their range and let them know this is normal. It happens, that's right. It's gonna, some people go through it in 3-4 months. Some people it takes 3 or 4 years. It depends on the person. Just let them know, you just have to wait it out, then you come back and sing. But a lot of times their confidence is destroyed during that time, puberty, and they think, oh, I can't sing anymore. Oh, I don't like to sing, and they just don't sing anymore. So it's just for them to understand. Did I answer your question? Yeah, just let them know this is what happens when you go through puberty. It's just there's even a name for you, caveata. Another question. Yes, ma'am.
Can you sing for us?
Oh. Usually I don't. Matthew, will you come up, please? How much time do we have? 15. Oh, okay. I'm going to sing the song that saved a wretch like me, Amazing Grace. How about that? That's the song that. Oh, okay. I can keep the mic more away from my mouth. Okay. Any key. That's the wonderful thing about it, too. You should be able to sing in any key, any style. So I'll sing Amazing Grace. Now, he's a gospel pianist. That means he can play anything. it's like the voice, you know, once you get it worked out. So it's a matter of just allowing yourself to be, allowing yourself to learn, and to, like John Schmidt said, you know, if you get that passion, that you're just loving it, and that's what happened, I'm sure, happened with him, maybe initially, not, because he was forced to play for his church every Sunday. So he had to get on that piano, and then he began to love it, you know. So, Amazing Grace. I have two girls I want to sing to at the end. Okay. Oh. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but I thank God that now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. So, the foundation of this technique that I teach, your true voice, is founded in the baby's cry. The first sound of the human voice, the infant's voice. All the exercises stem from that. Why do babies sing? I mean, sing. They sing too. But why do babies cry? Not just because they're wet or because they're hungry. They vocalize so they'll be able to speak. That's one of the reasons. That's just the way it is. That's the way the Lord made it. They cry so that they can work out those muscles so they can speak. And based on their environment, the vowels and how they pronounce things, they have frequencies, and those frequencies, they lose a lot of frequencies so that they can speak that language well. That's why children, when they're learning their language when they're early, you know, we as older people, we try to learn the same language, we don't sound the same because we've lost frequencies in our voice. So what we are regaining those frequencies so that we are able to do much more with our voice. We have more flexibility. Even people who are hoarse, who have always been hoarse, and their moms were hoarse, and their kids are hoarse, they train in this technique, and their voice smooth out, and then their voice is not that raspy, hoarse voice anymore. I've seen it happen. It happens training those muscles. Yes, ma'am.
What if they can't hear the changes, the different sounds, the monotones that, I work with my students, and I had one just yesterday. He He can't make the changes.
I've had those. The one that she was talking about, he couldn't stay on pitch. He couldn't, and then he had a lot of emotional issues, which also affects your voice. You are a manifestation of your voice, or your voice is a manifestation of who you are. So in training his voice, he was able to then begin to hit those pitches. Now, in fact, honestly, I think he was probably the only tone-deaf person I had.
So they do exist.
I think they may. But few and far between, because in those 50 years that I've been teaching, he's the only one. It might have been because I was a young teacher and I didn't know how to do it. But will you come up for a minute? And tell his story really quickly. But I met him in high school, because he used to go to high schools and do free seminars. And he used to talk so soft. You couldn't hear him. Just briefly tell us your story, your journey.
Alrighty, well, like she said, we met when I was a junior in high school, and I was not loud at all vocally. I was that shy, awkward kid, and she met me when I was in drama, which is the oddest place for the quiet kid to be. Yeah, I won't go into why I was in it, but I honestly was so frustrated with my vocal situation that when I met Debra, I had a little bit of a feeling that maybe her technique could help. And because she was trying to get her name out in the Spanish Fork area, she offered free lessons to my class. And I was the only one who took her up on it. And lo and behold, it didn't quite work out at that point because of a communication on my end. I'll take full responsibility for that. I took a few lessons, though, and everyone I knew said, well, your voice is kind of changing, and I didn't really believe them because I couldn't hear it myself. Fast forward to 2014, and I'm 21 years old, same vocal problem. People have to be like 3-5 inches away from me to hear me clearly. I have no personal bubble. Needless to say, when the pandemic happened, I was happy. All that spacing. I was still frustrated with myself, and I decided to pray about it. After going to a throat doctor, and the throat doctor saying, well, your voice is tensed, you need to find a way to relax it. Go to a vocal therapist. And I could not find a vocal therapist in the area unless it was someone who would only work with deaf people. So when I prayed about it, Debra's name came to my mind, and I said, Heavenly Father, I know what she's going to make me do. I can't sing. I'm going to shatter everything made out of glass in the room. I can't sing. To which he responded with a quote from the Prince of Egypt. Who made man's mouth? Who made the deaf, the hearing, the seeing, or the blind? Did not I? And before that scene could finish, I was saying, okay, Heavenly Father, okay. I'll go. And I Googled Debra, found her website, contacted her through email. I said, here's my situation. I took lessons with you before. Can you help me? I didn't get an immediate yes. I heard, I think so. Would you be able to do a consultation? And I said, yes. I'd be more than happy. And when we met up, Debra, I am convinced, was prompted to shut the keyboard off that she was behind and not have me do scales, because she said after hearing your problem again, because I did explain it again in person, she said, I don't think your problem is physical, I think it's emotional. And she took me through a process that she calls tracking. And it was through that tracking session that I took the heartache, the anger, the pain that I thought I had let go of from my parents' divorce. I took that 11-year pain and I fully gave it up to Heavenly Father. And immediately she said my voice started to relax a little, and I was like, well, okay, I don't hear it, but I'll trust you. Fast forward 3 lessons in my first class, it was just me and 2 sopranos. I decided I'd get a little competitive during the vocal warm-ups because I didn't want to be drowned out. And my voice started to change. I actually, at 21 years old, felt like I was going through puberty vocally because I got in my car and my voice cracked for the first time. And I immediately almost started to cry because I knew that this technique was going to be the answer to my prayer. Now,
That he does voiceover work now.
yes, I'm getting into voiceover work for the past 2 Halloweens. Because of her technique, I've been able to falsetto up and do Mrs. Doubtfire for everyone, and it's very, very fun. No one recognizes me. So, but I love the fact that she took me in and taught me.
Now, he couldn't sing on pitch. In the classes, he would not sing on pitch. But by doing the exercises, his muscles began to become more and more coordinated. Now he sings on pitch. So even if they do the exercises and they're not hitting the right pitch, it's okay. It doesn't matter the pitch. It's the and go and all the exercises we do to train the muscles. Then eventually he'll start singing on pitch. Because it's not that he can't hear the pitch, it's that the muscles will not do it. So most of the problem is not that they can't hear it, it's that they can't do it. Will you come up for which one first? Okay, come on. This is
Leah.
Leah, and she took training this summer with me, and she already had a really good voice, but she tended to strain on the high notes. But by doing the exercises, I want to just tell you what your experience is. I don't know what she's going to say, but we'll let her say it, then we'll have her sing something for you. Got time? Oh my gosh. Okay, no problem. Is that all the way out? 2 minutes. Okay. 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 So what? Okay. So she trained in a voice class, and Bella is training to be a teacher, and they were in the same voice class. So I just want you to just bear a little bit of testimony first, and then.
Okay, so I just kind of did the imitating thing. I'd listen to Broadway stars and I'd try to sound like them, and I was actually pretty good at it. But then it started like hurting my voice, and when I did it, it just didn't quite feel right. And then we were in practice for one of our musicals we were in, and Debra came and she started teaching us how to do it. And sorry, I'm trying to make this quick. After I started singing with my true voice, not only did it feel more comfortable, like in my throat, but also I feel much more confident when I'm singing, and when I'm just like belting out my notes with my true voice, it's just kind of like lets my soul just like go to town. So yeah, thank you.
And then my experience was I had a pretty naturally good voice when I was younger, so I was pretty cocky by the time I was like 14. And I knew how to make my voice so that people would compliment me, and that's why I sang. And then when I went to Debra, we started taking those vocal classes, and Debra said, no, that's not how you do it. And I was like, excuse me? Like, can you hear my voice? Turns out I was the one in the wrong, and so I finally started listening to what Debra had to say, and it transformed my voice, and I feel so comfortable and confident in who I am and also my voice. And so it actually has changed my life, this whole vocal technique program.
And we do have a, what do you call it, a showcase at 4 o'clock downstairs. Come and you'll hear Layla sing at 4. So you got to come back, okay? Bella. I get them.
The wonders of the world are said to stop at 7, but truth to tell, my figures don't agree. I'd number them at 8, with one so close to heaven. The others pale, their magic stale. Just take a look and see. Step right up to treasure eye, every inch of it sky, fairy tale and only a castle builder want the moon and nothing less. Work for years, then overnight success. Strike up the band, only in New York. Each day it's free, admission to those who dream. You set your sights way upstream. Off you go, for you know that dream will rise. Make that wish and seek that thrill. Come and get it, 'cause you always will. Strike up the band, only New York. Each day it's free, admission to those who dream. You set your sights all the way upstream. Off you go, for you know that cream will rise. Rise now, improved and rearranged. It's ever changing and it's never changed. Oh, life on command. Hear what I'm saying, oh, but it's grand. That's why I'm staying right here as planned. Only New York. Only New York. Only in
Thank you, Debra, and thank you to, is it Bella? Leah. Thank you, Leah. And you're incredible pianist. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.